Jake has pressed the button, so here we go with episode 29 of Podful of Saints for 2023-24 season. With myself, David Tavener, and as mentioned there, man behind the controls, Jake Ellacott.
Hello, Dave. Hello, Lee. Quiet one, wasn't it, this week?
A very quiet week. Lee Wood was the other one mentioned there. Yes, we're going to reflect on that very quiet week. The
It's
departure of
Monday.
manager.
Boys, what possibly has happened that you want us to do an emergency pod on a bloody Monday, Tavs?
Some people want it on a Saturday, Lee, or even Friday.
They did, didn't they?
Right. Well, I'm going to start with a change of manager. After 5 straight wins at the start of the year, with 2 big games coming up, I didn't want his record damaged, so off he went to Wealdstone. That's probably not quite how it happened. Some supporters actually knew on Tuesday, the day of the Haven game, but he'd had the interview with Wealdstone. What do we make of it? Quick one from me. A youngish manager. His first job was with us. He's been offered presumably a full-time appointment, 2.5-year contract with a club from a higher level. It's a good thing for him. You can't blame him taking it one little bit. And he leaves us behind in a very good place. How do you two see it?
Only.
I agree on the whole with you. The one thing that doesn't quite sit well for me is just the timing of it. You know, I appreciate the Wealdstone have sort of come in, needs must for them. But the timing, it's just really, really weird. And I know that there was a suggestion in the club statement that, you know, we're not going to stand in the way of people progressing their career. Absolutely fine. I've got no problem with that. That normally applies to managers. Sorry, that normally applies to players who are like, you know, they're 2 a penny and more times than not, it's the player that's got the power over the club because they've got agents involved and left, right and centre. Managers that are doing well are always going to get, you know, headhunted because the crap ones aren't going to get anywhere near it. So it's just the timing. And the thing is, Nobby was just turning it around. You know, he spoke so passionately about his desire to turn things around. He's finally done that. And then he sort of, a lot of people have come to us over the course of the weekend. Is it an upgrade? In terms of the longevity of the contract and the money, yes, of course. But looking at it, are Wealdstone that much of an upgrade to where he got this City side right now?
Well, the answer to that is yes, because it is a division above. They should stay up this year, so we'll have a foundation to build upon for next year. There's no guarantee that we're going to be at that level next year, despite the very good run we're having at the moment and looking good. So, yeah, I think most people have gone down the route of, give him a chance at a higher level, but certainly an email I received wasn't very complimentary to him about dumping us mid-season. Your words of wisdom, Jake?
I'm not sure about wisdom, but certainly my words are, initially it was surprise. I think, Lee, we sort of first heard the rumour on Thursday, didn't we? And we sort of almost dismissed it to an extent, thinking, it's just the usual talk, usual rumours. You know, Wealdstone were looking at a lot of younger managers in our division. But then on Friday at 5 p.m, it was a real surprise, to be honest. And as you guys sort of suggested, I think it's a surprise that when it's come now and this season, it's not exactly been a superb or stellar campaign, has it, for us or David Noble? I know we're in a good position at the minute, we're on a good run, but it wasn't long ago we were having results like Bishop Stortford, etc., when we were genuinely thinking, are we going down this path in the right direction? Is David Noble the manager to keep us carry on? I think all of us were supportive of David Noble, but we know that there were supporters, you know, probably a vocal minority, I guess, that were starting to worry about where he was taking us. So the turnaround since then has been absolutely spectacular and fair play to him, and I think he deserves his chance. And it's worth mentioning as well, we talk about, is it a big step up? The resources that Wealdstone are putting behind him with Neil Banford, or Banfield, sorry, and Sam Cox, the former Wealdstone player, who is joining them on a full-time contract in the summer once he leaves Spurs. I think that really shows almost the backing they're giving Nobby and the amount they're investing in their plan there, which is quite impressive. And that is probably what sort of lured Nobby. And also even stuff like, you know, they've got a new stadium lined up. I know we've heard about that at other clubs, including ourselves. They've got the backing of a council for that, etc. A lot of big projects, and they are in the division above. So I think fair play to Nobby. I think we wish him well, but it was a real shock to me, and I don't think any of us expected when we finished the podcast last Thursday about half 6, thinking we'll be here 3-4 days later talking about this.
I think when Stuart Maynard, the former Wilstow manager, left to go to Notts County, of course, a former St City player, left. He mentioned something along the lines about the football St Albans City play under David Noble, and maybe has some sway at Grosvenor Vale to get Nobby in there. Maybe it did, or it didn't. But you mentioned, Jake, we go back, what, 6 weeks, 7 weeks? And we were getting booed off the park at games. We had a chant of, "We are something of Hertfordshire," at games as well. Supporters were not happy. All right, it was a minority, but I think even we cast doubt on where we were going. If you go back to the start of the season, for the first, goodness knows how many games, 20 games, and the football was sterile. It was backwards, sideways, backwards again. Nobody was enjoying it. We weren't scoring goals. David Noble wasn't playing his main asset up front, Sean Jeffers. He's brought him back in. Pressure from supporters or common sense, whichever way you want to look at it. Sean Jeffers in, City start scoring goals, City start winning. Where football is more attack-minded, the playing passing game is more in the opposition half, which is all supporters asked for. We just didn't want us to keep doing it in our own half. So is it David Noble accepting, yeah, I need to change, or is it him backing down to common sense? Whichever, it's got him this move, but you feel he's got a lot to learn still.
He has got a lot to learn, but I think that's where we were prepared to give him that little bit of grace. You know, I think that it was no more than about sort of 6 weeks ago when you asked us both on here, Tavs, whether David Noble is the right man for the job, and we both categorically said yes, he is. I think you've got to look at the bigger picture. Now he's gone. We're going to talk about his legacy and where he's left the club. Is it in a better place? Yes. You know, when Ian left and he took over, we played some fantastic stuff. The summer came. I don't think we recruited well at all. I think this season, unfortunately, although we've turned a corner now, David Noble's legacy is going to be marred by the Sean Jeffers saga. Every single time Sean Jeffers started, he made David Noble look like a dilettante. He made him look stupid. He made him look silly because of and we don't know what it was, because God forbid we're going to have any sort of like context behind the fallout. Nor should we expect some, really, if truth be told. But that aside, he's turned it around. You know, you talk about, yes, we were getting booed off of the park, and yes, it was stale. But the last, month or so has been really good football. Saturday's game was a testament, really, although Meakes was in charge. That was still David Noble's team, and you can still see the massive influences that he had on this team going forward.
Indeed. It's difficult to have turn, because we've all got a similar opinion of how sterile it was at the start of the season, how good it is now. And is it David Noble saying, right, I've got to do it this way now? Or is it him bowing to pressure? You hope it's him taking control and playing players to their assets now. Which basically means get rid of analysts who tell you a player runs X yards in a game. Use the best computer we've ever been born with, which is your eyes, and be a proper manager. But that goes for all of them, not just him, by the way, because the modern game goes down the analytic route, which is nonsense.
I did joke to young Jacob on Friday that I wasn't quite sure who Wealdstone's top scorer was, but I bet he's shitting himself now, because he better put in a damn good shift. Otherwise, he'll be on the bench for another 6 weeks now. So at least we know where we are with that.
Well, on that point then, Jake, should we speculate who Nobby might come in for, if he were to come in for anybody? I think we can disregard Sean Jeffers. Anybody you think he might actually be interested in?
Well, bizarrely, there was a wild rumour going around on Saturday evening and Sunday morning that Sean Jeffers is a player that David Noble is looking at. So there we go. But it's an interest to think about. There's also a rumour going around that we have inserted a clause into his contract or into the deal for the rest of this season that he cannot pinch any of our players until the summer, I think, which would be a sensible decision if we did do that. I suppose the only threat there is sort of loan players. So will we see Dom Hutchinson possibly return to Wealdstone if he wants to get recalled? Will we see Nobby sort of sniffing around the likes of George Hoddle, trying to influence Cambridge to cancel that and then maybe try and get him a loan to Wealdstone? We don't know. It's hard for us to say, isn't it? Because we don't really know the Wealdstone squad. Looking at their squad page on their website, it was noticeable they don't have a number 9 in their squad at all. So maybe he will be looking for a striker of some sort. I don't know who, but I hope that for the rest of the season we don't have to worry too much about that, because the likes of Zane Banton, Michael Clark, I think they could all be players that David would certainly want to take a look at, whatever position they are in the National League.
That's bad news about McClaw's not taking any of our players, because I've got a list here he could come for. Oh well.
Don't forget though, Tabs, the fact is that they're stepping up to the National League, and some of them have got their own jobs, and they're not going to be able to, they're not going to be able to sort of just drop all that at a canter and bug off up to wherever it is on like a Tuesday night, gallivanting around the country. It's a very, very valid point that we make about the summer, because that's a whole new slate and that's a whole new area. It wouldn't surprise me if he inquires about Zane, because Zane is he's a fantastic player, really, really good, and you can see now how much he's thrived under Nobby. But look, again, you would hope that the powers that be, God bless them, have put something, like Jake said, that clause in his contract where he can't come in and start poaching our stars, because although David Noble isn't here anymore, the players that cross that white line, they certainly are, and they can continue the good work that has been carried on so far.
I suppose one inadvertent sort of impact, sorry, Dave, is Aidan Francis Clark potentially, isn't it? We talked about that last week, and the strong rumours, and then it turns out, like you say, David, it suggested that Nobby had actually interviewed before Tuesday's game, and we thought, Aidan Francis Clark might be arriving at some point last week. That might all be connected. You don't know. So that could be one inadvertent impact on us already by the news.
Yeah, he only got off to a winning start on Saturday, didn't he? A 2-0 win. His record with us, 68 league games, 34 wins. Pretty decent record there, 50%. 9 cup games, 4 wins. In total, 77 games, 38 wins, 10 draws, 29 defeats. Scored 130 goals, conceded 104. And actually, his points per game record is not too bad at all. He's just behind, he's got 1.63 points per game, just behind Alan Cochrane and Gary Hill on 1.65. But he's above the likes of, this one won't mean much to you, Harry Gibson, Ron Duke, Gary Robertson, Steve Cook with partnership, Graham Goals and James Gray, above Colin Lippiat, David Howell, Ian Anderson, and Jimmy Neighbour. It's all pretty tight, but he's above that lot.
Lee, you sort of mentioned legacy, didn't you? And it'd be interesting, in 5-10 years' time, like, on this podcast, we sometimes talk about Gary Hill, Alan Cochrane, the teams they played at the time, the style of play football they played, even Colin Lippiat, although, Colin came in with a team that wasn't great to start with. It'd be interesting to see, wouldn't it, in 5-10 years' time, what fans think of David Noble, and especially given how really short a time it has been. I mean, he's not even managed us for a full campaign.
Yes, but I think that they're going to look at David Noble in terms of the player as well.
Yeah.
I think you have to sort of factor that into the equation. I don't know how much you can really, factor in just his management. We've played well, but as Tav said, we have played shockingly bad at times as well. So look, I loved him as a player. I liked him a lot as a manager. He had my full-throated defence of his management. He lacked massively when it comes to the public speaking element of it. He let himself down with the whole Sean Jeffers affair, but other than that, you've got to look at the legacy in terms of David Noble as the player stroke manager at City. He's going to leave something positive without a shadow of a doubt.
He will. Wealdstone have got a record of pinching our managers. They keep doing it quite regularly. Last time was 52 years ago when they took Sid Prosser. And, we've got to keep an eye out for them, haven't we? A bit dodgy. But anyway, yes, I think we all say, it's just, hopefully he'll go on to have a great career. And he started it at St Albans City. And of course, we all wish him well.
Absolutely.
Right. There were 2 other people in the dugout, whatever you want to call it, technical area, cage, on Saturday. Harry Wheeler and John Meakes. John was assistant to Nobby, of course, this season, while Harry was in charge of the under-23s. I suppose in many ways a logical choice. Those two take charge on Saturday. I've got a bit of their history. Of course, Harry Wheeler, we know, former City manager. We'll come on to that in a minute. Also, a couple of spells at Braintree Town, Billericay Town, achieved a unique record of getting dismissed twice there. Dismissed at Maidstone as well. Also worked as a coach at Dagenham, and but he's very good friends with one of the owners, it must be said, at Clarence Park, and he always speaks highly of him, and he's got a lot of faith in him. Maybe we'll see whether that faith's going to be justified or repaid. And John Meakes, he's had quite a long time non-league game. His longest spell, 12 years at Cheshire United. He was assistant manager to Andy Leese when we beat him in the playoff final in 2014, a few years ago now. He had 18 months as manager. He left during the 18-19 season, I think, after about 8 games when he had just 1 point. And it's funny because Harry Wheeler's last 8 games as City manager, he got 3 points, so he's well up on John. Do you see those two being in the frame, or is it just a temporary thing?
For me, it's going to be a temporary thing, but I think it's going to be an ongoing thing. I don't see any reason, as long as it's continued to work, that we keep those two in place, especially Meekes. He's been around the block a fair few times, and he spoke eloquently and majestically after the game on Saturday. I probably learnt more from his post-match than I did for all of Nobby's collectively, to be fair. You know, that real insight into the tactics and the working mechanics behind how he changed the team. He knows the players respect him. We respect him as as fans. I don't see any reason to rock the boat. When a manager leaves the club, especially a non-league, it can, the arse can just fall out of it. But I think we are very, very fortunate indeed to have someone like John Meekes at the helm. And Harry Wheeler, he deserves a second chance or third chance or whatever it is now. But the fact of the matter is, boys, is that do you want someone coming in at this stage? He could do a massive overhaul. And, we are still in a good position to challenge. And David Noble's got us there. And hopefully common sense should prevail. And if all things going well, Meeksy and Harry can sort of take us forward.
Particularly bearing in mind why David Noble got the job originally, was it drifted on with him as interim manager. Do you see that happening again, Jake?
I can, yeah. And it's the same with Lee. It worked with David Noble. I think our only annoyance at the time, wasn't it? Let's just get it announced. Let's get it done. He's doing well. I don't mind us sticking around with John Meekes and Harry Wheeler for now. We've got tough games coming up anyway. And I think the worst thing we could do would be make a rash decision to appoint someone, say, in the next week or two, who maybe doesn't really fit the plan, because we've got a style of play, we've got a momentum going. And that style of play, John Meekes hinted it in the interview, didn't he? He said, I didn't have to actually do much because the players know what their jobs are now. They know what they're doing. They've been working with John Meekes, and I have no doubt Harry Wheeler's been involved to some extent behind the scenes as well. And if it keeps working, I don't mind it at all. It has to be said, Harry Wheeler, watching that on Saturday, it's like going back in my time machine. Is that Harry Wheeler again on the sidelines? So that was a nice surprise. But yeah, these two, and I think we'll talk about the game, won't we, Saturday? But the performance and the display and the result, I think they all indicate a team that is fighting hard at the minute. And do we really want to upset something with some of the names that are already being talked about?
Well, personally, Harry Wheeler, I've got to say, totally honest, I don't think he's going to have total support on the terraces. People remember last time, and I know his record elsewhere. But I must say, whenever I interviewed him, he was really good to interview. He was a joy to interview. He could talk, and he was convincing and everything, and it was good. So, yeah, just like you two, I wish the two of them success, and we just see where it goes. You mentioned names being chucked into it, Jake. Steve King and Darren Sowell have already been chucked in my direction. I think you can dismiss both of those. Have you got any names?
Mark Jones, the ex-Oxford City manager, was there. I mean, he'd only been sacked about 2 days before from Banbury. I don't think that would be the best. Dean Austin, we believe Dean Austin was there, wasn't he, on Saturday? Of course, I'm not sure if he's going for the job, but is he assisting somehow? We don't know how or why. He's still head of recruitment at Coventry, having been our director of football previously. And I suppose one thing you would probably mention, Dave, is we don't have that director of football replacement since then. So there'll be a lot of names being linked. I think the Chesham joint managers as well have been quite strongly linked by maybe not themselves, but other names in the game. So there'll be a lot of applicants. This is a desirable job. This is, a big club for this level. We've got good crowds. We've played well this season. We've got a good squad with players that manager could use. So there'll be a lot of names throwing their hat into the ring, and it's going to be a busy time, I think, for the owners.
The one thing I would
You
say,
mentioned-
the one thing I was going to say, Taz, is that the names that have been doused about, they frighten me. They frighten me. Your Andy Leeses and your Dowsons and your Steve Kings and all this sort of thing. Andy Leese, that would be the obvious choice to put, 2 and 2 together, bringing back him with his old sort of gunslinger, Meaksy. But the thing is, I believe they had a chance to sign Andy Leese before, and they didn't go down that road. So the fact is, Steve King, do we want him? Probably not. You've got to look at what Jake said in so much that, the players are established now. They know their jobs. But how long did it take them to get to that point? It took them pretty much the whole entire season. It wasn't until just before Christmas things started to really sort of kick in. If we have anyone, a fresh face with fresh ideas, new eyes and ears coming into the situation, we could be back to square one, and it would undo all of the good work the players have established over the last sort of month or so. Managers are always going to get connected with this great club, and it is a great club. And managers come out of the woodwork. Some are qualified, some aren't. But it's just about the amount of money that we're going to be able to provide for them, because budget is going to be a key thing. We keep hearing that we're not as sustainable as we should be. We haven't got the wage budget of the likes of Dorking and Torquay and Yeovil, but you know what? We're still competing with them despite all of that. So, do we want to upset the apple cart just yet? I don't think so.
And Elise, of course, has been seen down the park already this season. And another name you can chuck in, Danny Bloor, who got sacked by Welling United yesterday, previously with Eastbourne Borough. Again, coming off a bad season, you don't see him really being in the frame for us. You say the former director of football there was there Saturday. He was in the boardroom. You would imagine he's got quite some sway, because he and one of the owners are still very good friends. But also, it's been suggested to me, someone who heard it, that Harry Wheeler actually is sort of acting as a director of football already. So he's going to recruit himself as manager, which seems a jolly good move. Harry, go for it.
I suppose, Dave, I suppose that quickly feeds into, doesn't it, the whole Harry Wheeler returning to club. It was sort of very quiet, wasn't it? It was all very under the radar. He just appeared in the programme at the start of the season that he's returned to the club. So there you go. But I think, but on Lee's point quickly, I think if we do go for a different manager, a new face, they've got to have the same style of play and same approach, or similar at least, to David Noble. There's no point going for someone like Steve King, Darren Sarll, etc., who are just going to aim to hoof the ball 50 yards every home game, and that's just not going to work at all. So
and after that, Sean,
yeah. And even if it is a younger manager who hasn't got the most prestigious records at this level, that might not be the worst choice. So there's tough decisions coming up, but I hope that is maybe the road we go down, at least style-wise, because it's not like we're in a relegation scrap. We're fighting for our lives, is it? We don't need to worry about that.
Well, email I got here, there's a couple of points. I'll just skip over the first one, it's quite long. Second one says, what type of manager do we look for? Will the owners look for a cheaper alternative, as Nobby undoubtedly was following his interim period in charge? Or will they invest in someone who knows this level of football or higher, who can also attract players in to strengthen the team now and in the summer?
It's the expensive option, not if they can help it. Lee Allinson's name was being bandied about in our chat of doom. But you know what? It's as weird as this may seem, I would much rather have Lee Allinson than someone like Dowson or Steve King. Younger manager, he's probably earned a few more stripes since being at Hendon. Again, not the ideal situation, because he's already established, he's doing his own thing. But then again, you're running out of options, aren't you, when you're looking at in terms of the managers we can attract in the budget we're willing to support them with. I don't know about you, Tabs, because you hear things. You got your ear to the ground. Yeah, exactly. People just tell you stuff. But I don't know whether you have heard a name that hasn't already been mentioned on here, whether there's a style of manager, whether you would prefer a younger manager who's inexperienced or someone who's got a bit of nous around the non-league game, as long as we can give him some cash.
No, no other names from what's already been kicked around in the last 20 minutes or so. So nothing really to add to that. I haven't really looked further down, but if you want to look down into the Southern League or the Eastern League Premier Division, might be some young managers coming up there. I haven't really looked at it, Lee.
Good chat.
Quite honestly, what one didn't expect Nobby to go just like that. It caught us a bit on the hop. So there we go. Right, anything to add on that, or can we move on to football matters? Yeah, we're going on to football. Last Saturday at Clarence Park, 27th of January. A 1-1 draw with league leaders Yeovil Town, and a jolly good game it was too. I thought Yeovil, the first 15-20 minutes, thought, oh crikey, we're not getting much of a look in here. But we came into it. The second half, we had some good chances. But I think overall, Mitchell Weiss's header, which cancelled out Young's first half goal, that was about right. A 1-1 draw, a share of the spoils, to me, seemed the right outcome.
You say that, mate, but Jake and I were talking to a few of the Yeovil fans in the pub afterwards, and some of them, only some of them, mind, they thought they got away with something there, because the fact is, the second half in particular, yes, they started the first half fantastically well, and I'm like you, mate, I thought this could be anything here. Their goal, we were ball watching, we got undone numerous times after that as well, but second half, I mean, the whole game as a collective was superb. We battled, we were gnarly, we were intelligent at times when we needed to sort of be. And I thought it was a really good advert for where we are now, because they weren't going to let us have anything at all. But it's their fans. Their fans are the ones that are saying that well, perhaps we should have deserved all 3 points. But like I said last week, good teams at the top, they know how to grind out results. And that's what they had to do. Because without doubt, mate, second half, we were absolutely chomping at the bit to get those 3 points.
2 points lost or one gained, Jake?
I think one gained overall. As Lee said, a lot of Yeovil fans, both online and in person, were saying how tough a game they had, and actually how tough they felt both our games were this season, even though the first game wasn't particularly the most interesting clash. And I think, overall, I thought first half, of course, Yeovil were the better team. The second half, we created lots of chances, and you saw by the end there, they were not necessarily hanging on, but they knew they were in a real game and a real fight, and they were more than happy to come away with that point. Their manager talking after the game, saying, we've got a point on the road, let's take it, let's go. We're happy. This is it. This is fine for us. And one of their fans said to me during the game, that midway through the second half, said to me, "You're going to win this. This is the way this is going on." And so it was really good. And what was impressive to me was, after losing our manager 24, 48 hours, earlier, I'm sure that the players probably found out on Thursday night in training, to see the way we responded, especially at half time. And what was happy for me was clearly John Meakes and Harry Wheeler can get through to those players without David Noble. They can tell them, they can give them that confidence and say to them at half time, fine, we're 1-0 down, but we are causing these trouble, even if they're having more of the ball. Let's go for it. Let's create chances. Let's actually, go and try and get a point. And we did it. And I have to say, in the first half as well, it's not like we were bereft of chances. Jack James had that one. Sean Jeffers had one that, if he hits really at all, even George Hoddle as well had one that really was quite a tame effort. So they weren't clear-cut chances, but they were chances. I think overall we played really quite well.
Would have been nice to see Sean score against his old club. They had some good performers in there. I thought Jake Wannell at the back there, big number 6, I thought he dominated back there. But he was so physical on Sean. He got away with a lot of stuff he just should not get away with off the ball. But he did. And Michael Smith did a lot of clearing up. He's number 23. You may remember late in the game when Haroon Hamid came on. Made him look an absolute donkey, didn't he? He sold him a dummy, goes past him. Smith chucks him down to the ground, pulls a hamstring or something or other, and off he goes injured. That I thought was one of the great moments of the game. But we had that moment when the keeper missed the corner, went to punch it. We nearly got it over the line, but he did get it, land on it this side of the line. And there was a scramble when the ball went in a couple of times. And what I felt was good, we did much less of his passing back to the keeper. So when we had him under pressure, we kept him under pressure. and the ball kept going into the box. And yeah, we could have won it.
Yeah, and sorry, Lee, I was to say, but you talk about Michael Smith there. He was playing in the Scottish Premiership till last year for Hearts. That's a quality appearance. Sam Pearson, the number 27, who caught my eye. They signed him from Bristol City. We touched on him, didn't we, last week? Signed him from Bristol City. He's on quite a decent wage, and he caused chaos. That's the quality of opposition we were going up against.
We mentioned the money he's on, the budget they're supposedly on. It is in a different league to where they should be. They only intend spending one season in National League South. Lost 2 points on Saturday. They're still 10 points clear. They've got a couple of home games coming up now where they expect to reopen a sizable gap. You can't see them slipping up, can you, Lee?
Not really. Not at this stage of the season. We're sort of fast approaching February. That 10-point gap. They've got some good quality and they've got depth as well, to be honest with you. When I was speaking to their fans on the podcast last week, they were getting a bit twitchy because I did joke with them that, they were sort of champions elect and they were going to sort of come down here, and they shut that down pretty quickly. They didn't want to sort of put the jinx on anything like that at all. There's no talk about championships there just yet. So I think it's sort of almost too good to be true for them. They're still getting results, even though teams like us have outplayed them for large periods of games. One thing I would say as well, I've got to mention the Yeovil fans. I thought they were absolutely class on Saturday. The fans we interacted with on the terraces and in the pubs afterwards, Jake, they weren't shy to sort of come over and say hello. We heard one or two mutterings that a few of them could be rambunctious and misbehaving at times, but then again, we all can. But what I would say, I thought they were a credit to the club. They sang with us in the pubs afterwards. They got chucked out with us of the pubs afterwards. So it's all done in good faith. And they played their part in which was a really exciting Saturday afternoon's game.
Of course, it's the first game this year we haven't won, so it's all falling apart for us, obviously. But actually, I think that performance and whatnot, that has given the club such a boost and really just puts in good spirits going to Torquay and Hampton in the next week or so.
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, okay. Well, that's that then. Right, 10 meetings with Yeovil now. We're still to beat them, but a nice, healthy 2,489 down the park. Funny enough, I walked out to the ground at the end there with the guy who was meowing last week. And we're surrounded by 30 kids. You're thinking, all right, a gate of 2,500, whatever, but it's only £1 each off with all of this lot here. So we're not making a lot unless we get the merchandise off and buy merchandise, which probably is happening. So overall, the club probably is making money out of those sort of people. Anyway,
you're creating those,
but
you're creating those legacies, aren't you? If some of those kids may well have gone to Clarence Park for the first time on Saturday, and they would have left the park on Saturday night feeling that they're seeing a really good game of football, and they might come back.
You and I and Jake, we all went, paid full fee when we were kids. We didn't need to be enticed that way, did we? Just the lure of our local club attracted us.
Yeah, but when you were a kid, mate, and you're watching City, they played in like a field with some cows on it. So let's not sort of go down there just yet, mate.
Yeah, some of them are still there. Right, no midweek game for us. We're off to Plainmoor down in Devon next Saturday. Quite a few supporters, I think, making a weekend of it. Torquay, twice there before, twice lost 4-1, both games midweek. Be nice to see Torquay in the daylight, see what it's like. They're a bit off at the moment, aren't they? What is it? 1 win in 6. We've mentioned before, Gary Johnson's under pressure, and it's happening again. They're 7th in the table. We're 8th. Should be a cracking game.
Let's hope so. Yeah, that one win came against Dover, didn't it? 1-0, I think, a few weeks ago. Since then, they've not really done much. And yeah, you talk about pressure. I think when we talk about pressure, I mean, it's more than that on Gary Johnson. It is unbelievable. Him and the fans seem to have fallen out in really quite impressive style in the last couple of weeks. Reports, there's a Torquay fans website called Torquay Talk, which sort of independent reports, etc. It's actually quite worth going to. And the things they're saying, they're reporting, and Gary Johnson apparently told the fans that he's not going anywhere when they were booing him on Saturday. You know, it's all got proper toxic. Lee, we've seen reports that they're planning some sort of protest at the game on Saturday. I mean, you know, we
Love a
talk
good
about
protest,
Torquay.
me, Jake. Go on. Love a good protest.
Torquay in a bad position. They're 7th. They've got a manager. We're 8th. We don't have a manager. They could be much worse, lads. Come on. But I understand their frustrations. But it's just funny, isn't it, to compare ourselves to them? Where they are. But as Lee said,
Wait.
as Dave said, I think it tees up for a great game, doesn't it?
It's funny you say fans are booing them. So in 6 weeks' time, Gary Johnson will be manager of Wealdstone.
You
Yeah,
joke,
yeah.
mate. Things, weirder things have happened. But you're both spot on. Things aren't always that rosy on the country, my booties. It is toxic. We've seen the messages. We've seen the fallout. And the thing is, Gary Johnson, he's he's a Football League manager to all intents and purposes. But you can imagine, Dave, you spoke about the wage budgets to some of these clubs are on. Torquay's is going to be massive. But with that, high expectations and very little promise, very little delivery so far. That they're not happy about, which is really weird. Maybe they thought they were just going to be challenging automatically for the championship. Doesn't always work like this. You've got to you've got to earn your stripes, put that effort in first and foremost. And as Jay said, they're not a million miles away. It's just a matter of where their fans, who can be quite vocal, that they really honestly expect them to be right now.
Yeah. 2 top scorers on 9 goals. Bradley Ash, we're familiar with him from his time at Weymouth, of course. And Aaron Jarvis, that name rings a bell. If I bothered to look it up, we've probably come across him as well, I think, in the past.
You talk about names you mentioned. If you do look at their squad, they have got a very strong squad. They've got both players. They've got ex-Football League players. They've got National League players. Asa Hall, Dean Moxey, their captain as well. I mean, he's 38. He's been through the Football League about 400 times. They've got big names in that squad. And I think that probably contributes to part of the reasons why their fans are so frustrated.
Yeah. It'll be interesting, won't it? Down the park, it was during our negative period. They got a goal up.
Yeah.
And that was the end of the game, wasn't it? Just nothing happened after that. I don't think it's going to be the same scenario on Saturday. Let's hope not. Anyway, a second game to review. Hampton, which has been slipped into the fixture list on the website. No mention on the website in the news section. Say we've got this game put in next Tuesday. No mention also on the website, but we got the Hart Charity Cup final on the 5th of March. We've got a news section on that website. Come on, whoever is running that site, get your finger out, do your job properly, and keep supporters informed as to what's going on. Right, anyway, the Beverley next Tuesday. They've actually lost their last 2 games. They've been on a fantastic run, Hampton. Lost the last 2. 1 goal in the last 3, if you chuck the FA Trophy in there as well. Could be a good time to play them. Who have they got Saturday? They have Welling United away on Saturday. Manginess, Welling. So they look to get back to winning ways there.
They're not wet managers anymore. Rod Stringer's at Welling now, so he'll do a job on Hampton for us. Yeah.
That was on there. Look at the website tab. Tells you all about it, mate. It's a brilliant thing.
Not on ours.
No, not on ours. No. Why would it be on ours?
What is?
Our news isn't even ours, mate.
This Hampton game, do you think we'll actually play it finally? If the weather doesn't intervene for a 3rd time, that'd be quite nice, wouldn't it? It's actually, we've been dreading this game for about 4 months. They were in such good form when we were meant to play them originally. Thankfully, that seems to be now coinciding with when we might play them with a bit of a drop in form. It's going to be difficult. Both times we talked about this game, we talked about how hard it's going to be. They're a good team. Maybe they're a bit distracted by their FA Trophy run, potentially. They've got big games coming up. They've had good results in the Trophy. But, now we go there. Of course, we don't know how Torquay's going to go. But if we go there, play again with the same style and same approach, I think, we can cause them trouble. And again, it also feeds into if we're just going to keep John Meakes and Harry Wheeler for the next couple of weeks, I don't see the approach that we have and the bravery and fight that we showed against Yeovil changing much. Probably the only negative factor, it's a long trip on Saturday and it'll probably be a tough game. But otherwise, we can go there confident for the first time this season while previewing this game.
Well, what a baptism of fire for John Meakes and Harry Wheeler. Yeah, Yeovil, league leaders last Saturday. Torquay United, possibly even bigger club than Yeovil, although they're not performing as such at the moment. Got them next Saturday. And then the sixth place club after that, Havant and Waterlooville. It's, well, that's going to sort them out. Hampton, actually, we've got a good record against. We won 5 of the last 6 games, drew the other one. I don't know. Is it going to be? I don't see them running away with it. I don't see us running away with it. Not like 6-0 last year. I see it being a pretty close one goal in it either way. Anyway, will we have any changes by then? Of course, 2 new people coming in. Loans possible this time of year.
I mean,
Mention Aidan Francis. That's not going to come off.
No, it seems unlikely to see anything, doesn't it, for now, until we sort of know position. I suppose one surprise we can mention is Dylan Farge no longer at St Albans City Football Club, so he definitely won't be playing the next 2 games for us. And that was a bit of a surprise, I thought, considering it came on the same day as the news about Nobby. I thought we'd maybe look at almost in the same vein of probably not expecting any signings, trying to keep the squad the same, assess where we are, see what we do with the manager's position. But yeah, bye Dylan. You kind of got missed in all the news later in the day.
Yeah, but he celebrated by scoring against Torquay on Saturday, which is,
There you go.
Yeah, he's gone to Worthing, and as Lee mentioned there, he scored on his debut. So you suspect that approach must have come in earlier in the week.
Yeah.
Or his coach or his agent got in touch with Worthing one way or the other. And the 2 events are probably not related one iota.
That's it.
Right, well, we've got another matter to come on to as well, but let's get predictions out of the way. That's not good. That's last week. What happened? Lee went for 3-3 Yeovil. Jake, 2-1 defeat. I ask you. The other one was a 3-0 win. Right, come on then. Torquay.
2-0 Saints. Mark my words, boys.
Clean sheet.
Why not?
Wow.
Yeah. I've been drinking as well, so yeah, there you go.
I will go 3-1 Saints.
Good Lord. Can't argue this, can you? Well, I better go for a 1-1 draw then. And Hampton, I shall go for a 2-1 defeat. Evan earlier said we win. Go on then.
Yeah, I don't like this game at all. I've not liked it in its previous dates either. I'm at best 1-1 draw. At best.
I'm gonna say I'll go 2-2 for Hampton.
Yeah. Right, that's that out of the way. We've got some very sad news. At the age of 46, Lenny Piper died over the weekend. 98 games for us, 28 goals. When was this? Back in from 98 to year 2000. Brought into the club by Gary Hill. Very popular player and a terrific little player, wasn't he, Lee?
Absolutely. For me, one of the best midfielders, and he's in my all-time City 11. And don't snarl with your fangs showing, Tavs, because I don't know the legends of the 30s and the 40s and 50s that you grew up with, mate. But for me, although not as good as Alan Cochrane, certainly is on that level. And him in the middle of the park ran that Gary Hill side of the late 90s. I remember very, very fondly one of his first games, I think, for us. We had Aldershot away, and Aldershot were absolutely roaring through the divisions, and he scored both goals in a 2-1 win, and didn't really look back then. The thing with Lenny is that when you get quality players, normally they've come down, or they're sort of seeing out the last few years. He was very much still of his pomp, and I don't know whether I'm right in saying, but I believe he was our first ever full-time player, because when I was working for Lee Harding, who was the chairman at the time, he signed Lenny on £1,000 a week. And Lee Harding had him doing all sorts. He had him painting the terraces, he had him sweeping up the changing rooms, just to sort of earn that little bit of coin to sort of justify the fact he was getting so much money. We love Len. There's a very good reason why at the trust quiz nights that were held in the clubhouse, our team name was Lenny Piper's Magic Underpants, because he was just such a welcoming, superb figure at the club. And you can see the outpouring of grief on the social media, not the club's social media, obviously, but everyone else's, just how much he's loved and missed. The quality as well. I remember interviewing him a few times for the programme. And then when he left to go to Dagenham, I interviewed him there. And he was held in such high regard. A fantastic little player. If you imagine Hoddle and Blackman now, that was probably where Lenny was back then. You know, he never lost the ball. Never lost the ball. He chips in with some really important goals as well. An integral part of that trophy, of the trophy side that sort of got almost within touching distance of Wembley. And when he went to Farnborough, they played some big games in the cups as well, and they were sort of challenging for promotion. He was instrumental, and his form never ever dipped. But I think for me, he is absolutely one of the best midfielders we've ever had at this club, and he will be sorely missed.
Yeah, he started at Wimbledon, went to Gillingham, I think, for 40,000, and then slipped down, went to Welling, disaster edge, only one game. Then he came to us, and we got his career. Well, I wouldn't say we got his career. He got his career back on track, and he really was a star player, as you mentioned, Ellie. I've been in touch with Tony Rivers, who was commercial manager at Park at the time, but Fat Boy at the time, but Lenny was full time, and he's got so many happy memories there. Also spoke to Ray McCall today, who was running the bar, and both of them deeply upset and shocked at the news, and just say what a lovely bloke he was, and always up for a laugh. And Farnborough, of course, when he went there, he really found his goal scoring touch, and he really did, knocking them in. Played for quite a few clubs, which I'll go through them all, so we won't get finished within an hour. But a great loss. 46-year-old, no age at all, and our condolences go to his brother Chris, who also played with us, of course, and had a good little career of non-league game as well. Rest in peace, Lenny. You've left a lot of good memories. Right. Anything else, or are we done?
I think that's plenty, if I'm honest, from Monday as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very rare to do it on a Monday, isn't it?
I think it's probably enough. I mean, the only disappointment is we didn't get to break the news about David Noble leaving on the podcast this time. So when the next managerial change, if you could sort of plan it for a bit like the Ian Allenson one, that'd be nice. But I think we've put the people through enough suffering for 1 week of listening to us. So if you have anything you want to say or comment or views, Podful of Saints on Twitter, email description in the YouTube description below. And I think that is it from us. So from Lee and Dave and me, we will speak to you again next week. Come on, you Saints. Bye-bye, everyone.